episode of Kate and Isaiah Living Large. I'm Isaiah.
And I'm Kate.
And on this episode, we have Matt Kennan. Welcome, Matt.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, before we get into Matt, what's new? What's the hap with you, Kate?
What is new since our last episode? It's been another 2 weeks of me on this new trial of a new healthy eating lifestyle, another new healthy eating lifestyle, and I ditched the first one.
You ditched the one you were just
I ditched the one that I paid for, well, I only paid for a month, so it was fine. It was fine working to some degree. I'm not tracking my weight in any way, so I wouldn't know for sure. But I ended up getting an offer in my email saying, come back to us, Caitlin from Weight Watchers. And I did have success with that in the past. So I was like, I'll do that. Signed up for a year. So I've got the old Weight Watchers points active again.
Kidding.
Yeah, marketing works.
Email marketing got
Email
you.
Marketing. I resisted it for a solid 12 months. And then this one, 70% off. And I was already on the brink, and they said, Caitlin, we want you. And it was just some robot putting my name into an email that they sent to 700,000 people. But you know,
you did marketing stuff.
Yeah, I've done a few.
Well, they say it's like 3 emails or 3 times you need to see something and then it influences you or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm back at it on that, and it's going very well. I'm feeling better, except I don't know if I told you, Isaiah, that my foot was hurting, but I couldn't figure out. I have plantar fasciitis.
Oh, that sucks. I hate that. That hurts.
And I bumped my head this week at work. I fell
Of course you did.
and smashed my head on a boardroom table. So I said to my mom, I was like, I'm doing the right thing and my body's attacking me. Why? I don't understand. It hates me. But other than that, everything's going well. How about you?
Well, I've been working towards that triathlon, and I was doing that running and that swimming. But I felt my knee kind of hurting when I swim, but we get that triathlon coming.
Yeah,
up.
I know.
So, but I need to get running again. I have been running a little bit, but then I jumped.
How much are you running?
Like I'm running.
Running? Not walking? Running?
Yeah.
Well, it's subjective.
Well, I mean, it's more like quick jogging more than actual running, but it's still running to me.
Good for you. I just assumed you were walking.
Yeah, well, no, I am running, but it's the swimming that really hurts my knees. So I think I'm gonna do.
Not if your knee lets you down. You should probably get that checked out.
I mean, I should.
Yeah,
that's true. Swimming is the first thing, after all.
Yeah, it's the first one. So you don't drown.
Well, yeah, don't want to drown. But it's we're getting there.
Good for you. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's our first one having it again, so I'm really, really excited.
Yeah. What about the rest of your life? Everything else good?
Yeah, I mean, we're just working on the house, just keeping up with things,
Nice. You're feeding the birds when I got here today.
Yep, feeding the birds like an old man.
And I went to a celebration of life last night for Suzanne Doyle Yerxa at KV High. What an incredible experience that was. It was packed to the hill. It was like a reunion of the best kind of all kind of like-minded people. I saw one of my very close friends, so I probably haven't seen in 10 or 15 years, who lives in Doha, Qatar right now. She happened to be there, so it was like quite a tribute, but it was 5 hours long.
Oh, wow.
It was
5
amazing.
hours. But it was good, right?
But it was an incredible tribute. That was my weekend.
But
Ask at him. Let's not leave Matt in the middle of this.
yeah, let's get Matt into this. All right. Well, let's talk, Matt. Matt, would you like to introduce yourself a bit?
Oh, too much pressure. In what capacity?
Okay, here let's turn this over. Well, Matt Kennan is a friend of both mine and Isaiah's, but separately and in separate contexts. They're friends somehow. Don't actually know their context.
He lived
Matt,
across the street from me on that Union Street spot.
on that Union Street place.
Yeah. My wife probably yelled at him if he did.
Indecent exposure, probably.
And then Matt's a fellow comedian. And so that's how we knew each other. And Matt has been posting a lot on Facebook about a current weight loss journey. But before we get into that, How about you tell us a little bit about who you are in the context of somebody and your relationship with your body, from health, etc.
Okay. I've never fully thought of it in like, I mean, growing up, I was very active, sports fella. And then after graduating, a lot of that activity kind of disappeared, but a lot of the eating habits and then alcohol, that continued or grew substantially. And so like, that's kind of like, I guess my origin story was
your fatty
when
origin
you
story.
when you trade exercise for junk and alcohol, it leads to generally weight. And that was like, I guess, most of my adult life. This is my third like substantial weight loss in my adult life, and this is the easiest to like maintain.
Interesting.
So, but I don't think there was anything that's like ever made me feel like about this as much as it's just like, I don't know.
You also had some health issues, right? You had a few things diagnosed.
I ran into some health issues when I kind of crossed into my 30s, but it's still like, I don't even think I can credit it to that. It's probably algorithms. It's probably like seeing these like videos of people that are like, I have to live for my kids, and maybe I should too. Like, I don't, I don't, yeah. But I think that's really kind of really all it's been. Like, there was not any single thing that made me like some of my habits. And I guess
So it's not something that you struggled with in childhood or anything like that?
no, I was always a very, very thin at a young age. And then I would say maybe like grade 11, grade 12. I went from like being like ultra thin to like probably a little bit more like appropriate weight for my height and stuff like that. And it wasn't until after I kind of graduated where I started gaining weight. And then more recently, just being even less active, I guess, per se. Like, I have always kind of worked on my feet, so I usually always would get my steps in, but I've had more like admin type responsibility too. And like that paired with just, especially like the early days children, when they're just too young to do a whole lot with, it's a lot of being at home type of thing. I would say kind of that kind of added weight gain, but
Yeah, I mean, you probably have the same story as a lot of guys, right? A lot of guys like sports, and I guess women sometimes too, but mostly guys, 'cause
yeah.
guys are sportsy. And then you go on, and you kind of, after you're done your sports, you still eat junk food and drink and stuff like that. You just had a drink, although some people drink before they're 19, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, it happens to me too. You gain weight, you work, and you're not doing the sports stuff, but you are doing all that other fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and it can happen aggressive.
And how old are your two girls now?
One will be 5 next week, and 2.5.
So they're not so still anymore.
No, they're wild, and I have to keep up. So
Yeah.
it's kind of been perfect timing.
Yeah, I guess so. And in addition to that, your health concerns that you hit when you're in your 30s, do you want to speak a little bit about that? I mean, I feel comfortable asking because you did an entire comedy special about it, but you've Crohn's, right?
I know I have ulcerative colitis, but it's all part of
sorry.
that same. It's still part of the inflammatory bowel disease family. But that was like I think it was like a gift for my 30th birthday. I started having issues about a month after I turned 30. months later that I officially was diagnosed. And then during that time, and just like so July 2021 is when I started having issues, and then September is when I got diagnosed, and in that like 2 months I lost, I don't know, 30 pounds, I think. Because I just couldn't, I struggled. Everything was just going in one end, out the other. Like there was nothing was staying in my system. And I struggled finding foods that I could eat that didn't. So it became almost just like, what's the easiest thing on my system that's going to give me nutrients? And 90% of what I had was a beet smoothie, beets and blueberries. Sounds delicious. It actually is pretty good.
That sounds pretty good.
Sounds like blue teeth to me.
It actually is really good.
Sounds like it would look like you were bleeding when you were finished.
Beets, blueberries, cinnamon. That was kind of the trio. Plus, I forget what else. And then I would take vegetables and I would boil them with chicken and then throw it in a Vitamix and blend it.
Sounds like
and
a
drink that
meal.
in a mug. And it was, yeah, it did. I sounded like an aging adult trying not to choke on their meal. So, and that was just kind of like, that was what I could eat that kind of like didn't destroy me. But like I couldn't sleep through the night without having to get up to the bathroom multiple times. I couldn't. It was just rough. And it was like 2 months of just being in the dark and not knowing what was going on, and just like thinking that I was dying and losing weight. And I remember in that time, and like leading up to that time, like I did stand up religiously, like I did it so often. And then I remember doing like one weekend of shows during that time, and it was like I didn't think I could do my like a 20-minute set without having to the bathroom.
This was after trial, right?
Yeah.
So that's the wrong kind of weight loss, right? That's a terrifying weight loss. So,
Yeah.
you know, for someone like me, you're like, I would do anything. I would do anything.
You can try it if you want.
But I don't think, but when you lose it for health reasons, it's so terrifying, right? Like it has this, it's such a, like, why am I fading away? And why am I eating blended boiled chicken?
It's like, yeah, because it's more just like you don't feel like you're in control.
Yeah.
You don't have choice. I think that's kind of like the thing. And then I instantly, one thing that was nice was just getting a diagnosis was just enough to just take like it relieved all of the stress. It was like, this is a thing that I have to deal with now, but at least I know.
Right.
And I can kind of like make decisions to kind of work towards that. But I went from basically July until, honestly, there was I would say 13, 14 month total period where it was like significantly like life altering, in the sense of like the first couple of months not knowing what's going on, significant weight loss. Then once I got the diagnosis, they put me on prednisone, which completely destroyed my immune system. And then all this is going on while like in the middle of like the earlier days of the pandemic, where when the vaccine was first coming out and everybody's like vaccine shaming, and like I'm like, I'm not vaccinated because I'm dealing with this whole thing and I'm afraid to put any like foreign substances into my body. And then the moment I felt even just a slight bit of relief after the medication change, I got the first dose, and that like laid me out. And then I kind of recouped from that. Then I got the second dose, and then I think a week later I ended up with the flu, which lasted 2 weeks. And then a month after that I got COVID, which lasted for like 3 weeks. And then it just became like I got off of prednisone, had some different medication, and just started working on like rebuilding my immune system. And it took another, probably about a year to like kind of get to a point where I felt normal, where I could walk into a room and not have to like scan for bathrooms. I wasn't afraid of like getting sick and stuff like that. That was like a long
No, not to get all Oprah about it, but did you feel like when you're like walking into a room, it's the middle of COVID, it's this heightened sense of awareness of any kind of illness, let alone anything else, and you're walking in scanning for bathrooms. Did you ever feel, how did you feel? Like, did you feel embarrassed or just?
I just learned to embrace it. But I think if I didn't have stand up, I think that would have been difficult. And there's been like a handful of people that would come up to me after a show and like just, and I always feel weird. I'm like, this is just my outlet, but I'm like glad that you can kind of live through me for it. Because a lot of people would feel uncomfortable talking about something like that in front of an audience. To me, I was just like, well, this is like an opportunity. It's very hard to do stand up and not talk about something like that. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like dick jokes and shit jokes. And it's like now I have like a diagnosis for the shit joke. So it's like that was like to me, I was like, I don't really care. I don't really care what people think. Whether it's a good set or a bad set. I never really cared about how a set in general went. So I was like, well, I might as well talk about kind of get personal, talk about that stuff. And if it goes well, great. If not, I don't really care either way. And then from like a bathroom perspective, I just learned to not care either way. Just like, you know.
You have this great bit about walking through Hampton. I don't know if it's true or a true story or not. This great bit about walking through Hampton where you grew up and literally shitting your pants.
Yeah. And that was before I had a diagnosis, so I didn't even have an excuse then.
Oh,
that was in high school.
Oh, really? Maybe it was affecting you much longer than you thought.
No, that was a dairy issue. That was cheesecake.
Oh.
It was cheesecake for my birthday that didn't agree with me.
Maybe birthdays aren't your thing.
Yeah.
For your 30th birthday, colitis. For your 16th birthday, lactose intolerance.
Perfect.
Oh man. So and maybe it's a dude thing too. Like I as a woman, especially as a teenager, as a young woman, like as far as anybody's concerned, I do not use the washroom.
Women don't do that.
We don't. Yeah. That is a thing we avoid at all costs. Yeah. And so doing it publicly is unheard of and ridiculously embarrassing, which is so silly.
Women don't poop. Well, women and Kim Jong-un.
Those are the only.
Yeah, the only people that don't poop.
Yeah, I would never. And so being in that position, and obviously women get affected. Well, after I had my gallbladder out, it became not as serious, but every so often there's so much more fluidity in terms of control. And I've never entirely lost control, thankfully, but yeah, I am in my 40s. So here we go. Let's go. But, and I'm lying. And, you know, I've never had to pull over on the side of the road yet. But
sounds like Brad.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's my one thing. But it is a scenario. Even having to use a public washroom is like, oh no. Like I remember being in New York City and my stomach, my guts were imploding. I was in Times Square and I was like, oh my God, where am I going to go? And I was waiting a few hours because I was seeing a Broadway show that night and I had lunch, etc. Like, oh no, this is happening one way or another. So I ended up buying tickets to the Wax Museum solely to use their washroom.
Yeah, because you have to get a hotel reservation or something just to find a washroom.
Yeah, because I was staying in Harlem, so I was like, there was no way I was getting back there. And I was like, what am I gonna do? So I spent $40 to shit at a wax.
It's not bad though. $40 is a pretty
American.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like $100 Canadian.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm never telling anyone this, but here we are. Oh my God, Ryan Gosling's looking at me. but you know, so it's a much more traumatic thing, I think. Maybe when you're not as chill as you, maybe
well, I mean, it was never anything growing up. I was not. It was never anything that I was like gonna share with the world, but
yeah.
I think you kind of get to a point. Well, if I don't, they're gonna find out one way or another. That
How long have you been a comic?
10 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I like to think of myself as a semi-retired comic right now because I don't do a whole lot. But yes, it's still technically 10 years this year.
I've been to more of your shows than Caitlin's, I think.
Yeah. It's true. He finally came to one though. It was when he was avoiding them entirely. That was funny. We had a shtick here on the podcast where Isaiah would refuse to come to my shows. I made him come when I headlined this year. But and how do you think comedy has helped you generally, but in terms of dealing with like you touched on it a little bit when in terms of sharing and that sort of thing, but maybe elaborate on that a little bit.
Stand up for me. Okay. I mean, you've known me since pre stand up. It's just a young 20s boy.
Yeah, just a young pup on Union Street.
Yeah. And the baby face, the more of a baby face, less gray hair. There was a point where like stand up was always something that I like probably since we first got a DVD player. My dad bought an old Abbott and Costello. It was like a Colgate Comedy Hour or something like that. They did like Who's On First and stuff like that. So that was like my early introduction to like elements of like stand up and like a sketch comedy, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then in high school, my friend Zach sat next to each other in science class, and we'd have a reading period in the afternoon. Give me one of his headphones. We'd watch HBO specials and stuff, like old Chappelle and like Chris Rock and a lot of those things. So then that became like a proper introduction to like more modern day comedy. Right. And that was like something that I want to try, but I just never thought it would happen. And I didn't, especially that it was something that could happen locally.
Yeah.
And then got to a point where 20s drinking way too much. And I was like, I need another outlet for my things. And then I found out that James Mullinger was kind of still relatively ish to the area. So I started seeing like more of him on social media. Kind of just through the grapevine started like learning things and stuff like that. And then so stand up to me was just more like I felt like I had some form of like a purpose from someone that didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And not that stand up is a good purpose to have, but it was something. And then it had helped kind of get me out of my shell to some degree and get a little bit more comfortable in situations that I wasn't necessarily comfortable in. And then that was like I think the biggest thing for me. It just helped it gave me like an outlet, but it also like helped just no, it was a therapeutic element to it. And it's like a crazy thing because the industry in general is known for drugs and alcohol, but like I've been sober for 5 years, but also cut back drinking significantly just by starting because I never wanted to I always wanted to go into it sober, and I never wanted to feel like I needed alcohol to do a set. That was like the big part of it. And then it was just like if I wanted to have a drink afterwards, I would, but a lot of times then you 2-3 hours away and then you're driving back. So it's like I can't be a party animal because I'm not walking.
I'm in Moncton on a Tuesday and I want to go home.
Yeah. Get up and work in the morning. So I think that was like a big part of it for me. It was just like it helped with a lot of that. And then
yeah, so like you went to Toronto. Tell me a little bit about like the difference. Like what was Toronto like?
Yeah.
Yeah, you went to make it big.
Yeah. Toronto, it's different. So I've always kind of viewed New Brunswick as well, and New Brunswick's changed quite a bit, and I'm more removed from the local comedy scene now than I ever have been. But I found the earlier days of New Brunswick as like almost one large clique, I guess. Like one, like everybody kind of knew each other and everybody was social. You had your own little pockets of people that you kind of would like hang out with more often than not. But like,
Like that.
it wasn't like all these like segregated groups. Toronto is just significantly larger, so it's just like a lot more smaller groups and a lot less of that, like you don't know everybody, you don't know, so it's like it's very different in that sense. And there is an element of people will use you to kind of get what they want, and that's not everybody, but it obviously happens significantly more in a scene like that. There are people that will operate that kind of way. But like I went having some success locally and then basically just having to almost start from scratch again. But you have a leg up on the people that actually are new. Like anybody there, like that has even the same amount of experience from like in terms of like how many years they've been doing it, they more often than not didn't have any more than like 5 minutes of material, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, because in the larger cities, the larger scenes, they're so focused on building like a type 5 that like they will sit there and just focus on refining something that in many cases shouldn't be refined. As opposed to, so there's like, I guess there's like elements that I like of both. What I loved about being in Toronto was just the ability to perform kind of as often as you wanted, even though it was more often than not in front of virtually nobody. You still got to, there was something about like running through an idea that you had and then hopping on a train and then going and like making your adjustments in your head of like what you would do differently the next time, and then going and doing that right, not then, but like that same night, as opposed to next week or whatever,
next
and
month,
hoping,
as the case may be.
and hoping that you're gonna remember those notes that you didn't jot down that were just like in your head.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very different thing. Some similarities, but I find it was.
And how was the feeling like? Did you start to have health issues when you were in Toronto, or did you?
No,
It was after you came. It was all after you came home.
So when I came back November of 2020, I came back to visit. The plan was that it was my dad's 60th. I had to do 2 weeks of self-isolation, and then Christmas a month later. So I was like, I might as well just come back for a couple months and do his birthday, do that, and not have to like go self-isolate, celebrate his birthday, go back, and then immediately come back and self-isolate again.
Right.
But during like the pandemic is when I did like another large weight loss by choice, and
like the opposite of everyone else during the pandemic. You're like, let me just trim this up. Everybody's
Well,
like, where's the sourdough?
I put on a chunk of weight in the early days of the pandemic, which is what made me be like, okay, I should get this under control. But I used to have like a little quick throwaway line where I said, like, if you lose 40 pounds in the middle of a pandemic, but then gain it before anyone knows you lost it, did you really lose it? Because that's very much kind of how it kind of happened. Like I did lose 50, 60 pounds, and then I came back, and before it had even been a full year, I was back up to that same weight. And it was like when I came back, there was like this maritime bubble and things were good. I did my 2 weeks of self-isolation, and then a day later, they went back to like it was like the whole that whole super spreader event happened. Like the moment it was like my last weekend of being in my isolation was the weekend that this super spreader event took place.
There were some good memes coming out.
Yep. And then the very first thing that I did when I got out is I went to Rockies, and then the next morning woke up to a text message of a screenshot from Rockies closed indefinitely because of the whole thing.
Oh man.
Damn. But yeah, like I was like, there was no health issues then, but it was not long after.
Interesting. No, it's an interesting story, man, because as somebody who I feel like I've known of you a lot longer than I've known you, because we have another mutual friend in Ellen Murray, and
we had a collection.
We have a collection of mutual friends.
I didn't even realize that Ellen was a connected.
No, you're just somebody who's been in my periphery for a very long time, just incidentally. And it's interesting to hear, and of course Sam Laidman as well, because you guys went to Toronto together. And that being like a whole thing. And then you won when you started. Did you win that contest? There was a contest, a James Mullinger contest of some kind. Was that your start of stand-up, or had you already been doing it at that point?
Yeah, that was not even 6 months in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was like, remember that first, so like I only did 2 sets of I say this is what year are we? This is so this is year 10. So 2016, I did 1 set in 2016. It was in November, and then December is just very busy in the restaurant world. And then I made like the top 3 or something. Like I made the top 3. It was the first set that I had ever done that I submitted for booking, and made the top 3 before I'd even done second set or something.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then I was like, I need to like actually take this seriously and put my head down. So then for like January, February, March, I was just kind of grinding. But I did 7th time that I was on the Hubcap comedy competition. I placed 3rd in that. And then from there, I just kind of like, for at the beginning, it was just like, let's just try and do as much different material as possible and figure out what works and kind of let that shape what I gonna do from there. And then by the time comedy boot camp rolled around, I had kind of did enough that I felt like I had enough material to kind of build a strong set, and that's
so cool. Well, I mean, that brings us, is there anything else you'd like to add about yourself going before we wrap this up?
Yes, next week we'll have you on. We'll talk a little bit more about your health issues and a little bit more about your journey that you're going on right now, and all that kind of stuff. But that'll all be next week. That's our next week's episode.
Did you want to answer that? Do you have anything else you'd like to add first?
I don't think so. I think we. I don't know. Yeah.
You can find us at Kate and Isaiah Living Large on Facebook and Instagram. And is there anywhere you'd like to direct people? Probably not.
Me?
Yeah. This is Matt Kennan, everyone. And Isaiah, where can we find you
on all the social medias at Maritime Brews? Of course, we still have the Buy Me a Coffee going if you want to help improve the studio. And if you can like, share, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast or watch the set, that'd be much appreciated. But until next week, bye.